Right, hello and welcome to another AI Sales Edge series. My name is John Golden from Sales Pop Online Sales Magazine and Pipeliner CRM, joining you as usual from a sunny San Diego. And today we are going to be talking about personalized selling using AI. And today I'm joined by Joshua Hale, who is up in Bellingham in Washington State. How you doing, Joshua?
I'm doing excellent. I'm excited about today's discussion.
Yeah, and Joshua is the founder of JH Media and Consulting and has well over 12 years in digital marketing, helping small businesses integrate AI for efficiency and revenue growth. And we're also joined by Mohan, who is in Vienna, Virginia, just outside DC, an old stomping ground of mine. How you doing, Mohan?
Doing great, John. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Mohan is Chief Product and Technology Officer at Known Well with over 30 years leadership experience in scaling SaaS companies. All right, so the chat is live. So if you have questions, please put them into the chat and we'll try and get to them. This is about 30 minutes or so, just a very casual conversation, but we're going to talk about AI and personalized selling. Joshua, maybe starting with you, what role is AI playing? How is AI enabling personalized selling, and how is it different from, say, pre-AI days?
Well, the time saving is the first immediate win. I used to spend hours crafting up a proposal, trying to get it just right so that it answers all the questions to help the decision maker make a plan to move forward with you. And those hours now I can get done in about 10 minutes. I transcribe a lot of my meetings. And so just being able to sit back, and I don't even have to, write many notes anymore with the transcription going. So these new tools that are introducing such a huge, powerful way of being able to really personalize each proposal to each person that you each prospect that you come across is unlike anything that I've ever seen before, and the time saving is allowing me to be able to be of service to them even in more detail.
Yeah, it's kind of like there's no excuse anymore not to be able to personalize your outreach at a much deeper level than before. I guess, Mohan, as long as you are doing it in a systematic fashion and you're just not just outsourcing all of your work to AI.
Yeah, I mean, there is sort of a paradox here, right? So you need to personalize, but also be able to do it at scale. And that's where AI comes in. And I think it's really game changing.
Yeah. Do you have any examples of personalized selling campaigns that have really stood out to you?
Well, initially, I was able to, save time on proposals. Then I was able to start using AI automation that's coming out and becoming widely available to everybody. There's a service out there called Lindy that, has these pre-built automations. You just connect your accounts to it. And one of the coolest things I was able to set up is pre-meeting prep. And so it follows my calendar, and 15 minutes before a meeting happens with a new prospect, it will go out and research everything about them, everything about their company, their LinkedIn profiles, and then deliver an email to me 5 minutes, 10 minutes before the meeting, telling me all about them, all the details about who I'm about to talk to. And so that alone helps with context, helps with, asking the right questions, and shortcutting the whole process of, having a full calendar and jumping into meeting after meeting, kind of going in blind, is something that I ended up doing a lot just because of how busy I got. Now this is shortcutting that whole process, enriching the whole conversation.
Mm-hmm. And Mohan, one of the things I think that people overlook is the fact that high quality data is so important, because AI can only leverage the data that it has, and if you're using internal data, if your data isn't clean, then you're going to have a hard time with it. So talk to me a little bit, Mohan, about data quality.
Yeah, it's so important. The three things that I generally say before you start using AI tools, and the first one you already hit on, which is starting with clean data it's just fuel, right? So otherwise you're putting just water on the fire and you're going to extinguish it if you have bad data. So starting with clean CRM, starting with clean data is super important. And then the other two I'll add on to that, John, are just aligning with GTM strategy that you have, right? Even though you're using all these tools, but not going haywire, aligning with that. And then piloting these tools with intent, I would say, are the three things are super important. But you highlighted starting with clean data. Obviously, AI tools work on data, and it's essential that it be there.
And I guess as well as the thing is also looking at privacy regulations and compliance and all of that, because those things are going to become more and more important, and are going to impact more. GDPR, CCPA, all of those. How can you ensure that you're staying on track and you're making sure that you're staying in compliance and, let's say, ethical, if you like, Joshua?
Well, ethics is a really big topic for me. There's new software that will monitor the conversation in real time, like through a Zoom call, and give you suggestions on like what to ask. And so we're now going to be moving into a whole new level of, who you're talking to, what real-time data do they have while you're talking, and the level of manipulation that could take place, but also like just effective questions to get like the cleanest data, I think, out of an interview or a discovery call is what's really able to give you that information to see if you're a good fit and see if this is the right product to help them out with their lives.
Yeah. And here's an interesting one, Mohan. Somebody just asked here, will AI ultimately create a new class of superhuman sellers? And what does that mean for the rest?
It depends on what we mean by superhuman, but I think the humanity in selling, the gaining of the trust is still the most important part of sales. The question is, how can you scale it? The question is really good one, because we've always had super sellers. If you look at any sales team, right? So 70% of the quota is attained by a subset of these sellers. So you always had a class of super sellers. Let me not call superhuman, but super sellers. But I think what AI is going to do is to be able to augment those super sellers into even higher class, right? So, and using of these tools is going to be essential so that you can be more uniquely human in the sales process.
Yeah, and I guess that's, Joshua, that's the interesting things is, as Mohan just said, is by leveraging these tools properly, you can become an even more kind of genuine human.
Yeah, I think the human economy is going to be really important in the future. People are going to be drawn to transacting with actual humans, because this whole AI automation thing is going to flood the internet with faceless corporations, faceless offers, and I'm going to gravitate to, people that have faces and that are, real human beings. They're not perfect, and but they care about what they're doing, and this is going to separate a lot of the economy, I think, on the internet, because of all these, AI avatars that are about to hit the airwaves.
Yeah, I mean, if you've seen recently, I mean, they're doing these cold calling AI, voice. To be honest, thankfully, they don't really work that well right now. But yeah, you can see where things are heading. Here's another interesting question from somebody who says, as AI handles more data analysis, what uniquely human skill becomes most critical for a salesperson, Mohan? What do you think?
I think it's just understanding of the actual situation the buyer is in, right? So the unique circumstance that they are in, right? You still have to understand that, especially in a complex sale, and then gaining the trust, and for you to really know that you can solve the problem really well and not just be pushing a product. All of those things are very uniquely human, and they will continue to be human skills. We used to call it consultative sales in the old days, right? All of those things are super important. But the key thing in this new world is that customers are changing. they expect highly personalized outreaches. The cost of a generic outreach is very high, so it has to be personalized. And there are a lot of studies to indicate that most sales are kind of completed before the actual sales call, right? So if you measure in terms of percentages, right, they've made a 50 to 70% of the decision to go with you or not go with you. And that is based on highly personalized outreaches, how they've self-educated themselves about you. All of those things are important, but to crystallize a complex sale is still a very uniquely human skill.
Hmm. Yeah, and just following on from that, Joshua, there's also another question. If both you and your direct competitor are using AI personalization, what becomes the new differentiator to win the deal?
Well, I practice authentic marketing, and that's essentially just sharing all my, messy parts as a brand as I grow and develop and continue to be a better, service to others. And I think people are going to really recognize that as not part of this whole perfect AI ecosystem of wanting to actually like work with them because it seems more authentic, right? So not being afraid to share those struggles, because that's where that empathy and understanding and connection is going to take place.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Joshua and Mohan. How much then does that authenticity, come into it? Because at the end of the day, right, we're fine with you using every tool under the sun if it serves me better. But if I'm interacting with you, I want to know that you're an authentic, real person.
100%, 100%. I think it's the human in the loop that is in the chain of the AI tools is very, very important. If there are two sales organizations all equally equipped with sales, equally clean data, there is still a lot of human judgment that needs to happen. We are not robots, right? So you take the information, even something as simple as how big is this particular company? Let's say it's a private company. It's so hard to find that information because you get different information from different sources. One says they're a $50 million company, other says it's a $75 million company. So data is not clean. We
Mhm.
all know that. So, as humans, we're uniquely equipped to say, I think they're this, and let me go with this let me kind of get the AI tool to go this way in terms of, a personalized outreach, if there are options A, B, and C. So those are human judgments. I think they'll stay with us and will be uniquely human.
Yeah, and there's an interesting follow-on question from that, Joshua, is like, how do you build a safety net for when AI gets personalization wrong and outreach backfires?
Well, I stick to a 10-80-10 formula. 10% is your initial idea and your creativity, kickstarting the use of AI. 80% now is like the powerhouse of AI processing, but then you always want to follow up with that 10, maybe 20% of oversight of what it's producing. There needs to be a human always in the loop. And I think it's really dangerous to like outsource AI completely. Like, even if it gets better and better and better, we always need to have this AI oversight.
Yeah, yeah, and Mohan, on that same topic, I mean, how do you ensure that AI is used properly and effectively in the organization and it just doesn't become a wild west?
Yeah, the best companies have good governance around it, right? So, best outcomes are gotten when there is a nice ring fence around what can be done and what can be done. So, there's room for creativity there. So, that goes into a governance model in terms of what can be done, what sort of data is going to be ingested, what not. At scale, these become really important. When it's just one or two people doing it, you can apply your judgment. But when you try to systematize this, it's really important to think of it more globally.
Hmm. And Joshua, how do you help salespeople adopt tools like this? Because sometimes it's like they'll go, it's just flavor of the week, like I'll just sit this one out, or or I don't really understand it, so I'm just going to ignore it. How do you help salespeople be comfortable with leveraging AI tools for personalized selling?
Well, the first easy win is just showing them the advanced voice mode on ChatGPT, and doing a role play of your sales process. That has a natural experience to it, and
Mhm.
it can give you really personalized feedback. And then secondly would be, getting a voice transcription of your actual sales calls and putting those back into AI for feedback. And
Mhm.
like, that can give you hyper personalized ways to be able to improve what you did right, what you did wrong, and will help you incrementally grow for each call after that.
Yeah, that's a really interesting concept, Joshua, isn't it? That we always think of AI as how do I use this to do that, right? Something external. But you're saying here, leveraging AI to say, okay, go through your talk call transcript, etc., and give you kind of coaching feedback in many ways. So, which I think is something. Because a lot of sales leaders and sales managers and stuff don't really have good coaching skills, because they're not their own fault, because they're never given them, right? So maybe there's a role AI can play in this as well. What do you think, Mohan, in terms of coaching for salespeople?
I think AI tools are so good at that, right? So you can record the conversations and get conversational intelligence, and just be able to do better sales reviews than we've ever done before, right? So these are all coaching moments. There are a lot of these tools you can also then automate some coaching, right? So in the moment coaching, that's possible. But call reviews are better than ever from before.
Hmm. And Joshua, somebody also asked about AI can feel like a black box. So how can sales learn to trust AI's recommendations?
Well, ultimately, it is a black box, and it really involves just small incremental use to be able to see the practical application in your environment. And I think over time, that's kind of what builds up trust. There's, privacy issues and like lots of concerns about AI that people should be talking about. But really putting it into practical use in whatever role you're in, I think is the quickest way to grow that.
Yeah. And here's another interesting question, Mohan, about, I mean, the good old sales and marketing alignment one, right? If
Mhm.
AI powered selling blurs the lines with marketing, who should ultimately own the personalization strategy and the content it uses?
Yeah, one of the things that AI does is it starts erasing the organizational boundaries,
Hmm.
right? So, and this is happening across multiple teams, whether it's product and engineering or sales and marketing. In the short term, I would say the personalization at scale, the systems, the core messaging is more marketing, and the individualized action of that is in sales. But even my answer sort of indicates that a future organization, it's going to be one growth team with some specialization between marketing and sales.
Yeah, Joshua, do you have anything to say on that?
Yeah, I think, a person is being able to learn the other roles like to a decent degree, especially leveraging AI now to be able to help with that. So I fully agree with like having just the growth team figure it out. You might have that one person who's really great with in person, and that's who's able to really, get the final close happening. But the lines definitely are blurring as the whole team figures out how they can leverage AI and grow together.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I mean, I would say I would agree with you both. I think that the lines are blurring. I think the hierarchical, highly demarked, siloed organizations are not going to survive going forward, because I think if you look across the organization, like everything is so specialized now that there's, that you need collaboration across departments in order to be able to execute anything. So I agree with you. I think it is going to become more and more integrated. And to your point, I think this is something that every organization should look at, is look at people's core strengths and make sure that you leverage those as opposed to trying to fix the things that they're not good at. Because like you said, if you have a fantastic closer who's a great person, who's great at communication, use that person. Don't try and turn them into a technology person when that's not what they want to do. They want to be just use people's strengths. Use people's strengths. Um, and there's another question here. It says, beyond outreach, what is one of the innovative ways a seller can use a Gen AI to be more prepared for a meeting or to understand a complex account? How about you, Mohan?
Yeah, if you think about the different segments here, right? So clearly, one is highlighted here, which is around outreach. There's also research, right? That goes along the step before outreach. AI tools can be used for that. Then there is conversational intelligence, which is what we specialize in quite a bit, right? So where as you're having these conversations, be able to get intelligence out of it, whether it's during the meeting itself or after the meeting. And there are different types of sales assistants. And finally, there's also better AI forecasting and pipeline management. Right? These are all, if you just take the sales process and break it into different segments, you can apply AI in each part of that, starting with, I would say, outreach and research.
Yeah, and how about you, Joshua? Other applications beyond the actual outreach?
Well, I'm riding the edge with the most cutting edge models right now, and O3 Pro just came out. And what's so powerful about this is both Claude and ChatGPT now have access to Google Drives. So having really good AI documentation of your company, but then also who you're researching and who you're partnering with, allows instant access to these reasoning models to where I can now say, Claude, look up my drive for this company in the launch project that we're going to be working on, and come up with the 15 things that I'm not thinking about. And it will immediately go search your drive, find that information, and be able to give you this strategy. So the need for spending the time on the context is getting shorter and shorter, especially if you're well organized with your data.
Yeah, no, that's interesting, because let's face it, most people's Google Drives are, like your junk drawer in the kitchen, aren't they? It's just everything's in there, nothing's organized. um, Excellent. Here's another question: is AI is only as good as its data? What advice for companies whose data is messy, incomplete to begin with? Where did they start, Mohan? Where do you start to clean up your data?
That's such a good question. I think we have to just normalize this challenge, because every company's data is messy. It just depends on the degree of messiness, right? So I think places to start are, what data do you trust that's there, right? Also, there are several AI tools that can fill the gaps for you, right? So I don't have this data, incomplete data. Then you have the AI tools complete that gap for you. And then start looking at designing the playbooks that tolerate these gaps, right? So that essentially means that you're looking at feedback loops very carefully, trying to see where you're saving time, what deals kind of move beyond that was not moving, just paying attention to it. But eventually you got to get to sort of, let's kind of work on this big project to clean the data. But I think there are ways to get started by starting with data you can trust and using AI to fill the gaps.
Yeah, and that's why we do in Pipeliner CRM, we have the duplicate checker built in. We have help our customers to make sure that their data is as clean as possible, so that the AI tools that we have work best. And I think that's going to be a challenge for a lot of organizations, and to be honest, a lot of CRM systems aren't set up like that. So I think it's really important. And same question to you, Joshua. How do you advise people to get their data in check?
Yeah, I've begun to just offer AI documentation interview service, and so just talking to the administration and managers and walking them through specific questions to get their knowledge and wisdom on their departments, on their company, as the starting place. So you get this initial document with the mission, the goals, and like the founding information. Then you can build off of that and go into your decision trees for the whole company that way.
Yeah, here's an interesting question. I'm not sure we're actually here yet, but it says, does AI's ability to predict a need before the buyer is even aware of it effectively kill the traditional sales funnel? And if so, what replaces it? I'm not sure AI is quite there yet, Mohan, but what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit getting to the future. I don't think it kills this sales funnel, but it reshapes it fundamentally. right? So we used to think of funnel as a linear, rigid process, and it still is today. But where we will go, this is answer from product-led growth. Funnels are getting replaced with loops, right? So customers can go backwards and forwards, but they're in loops till the sale happens. So in that sense, it's a much more dynamic buyer journey as opposed to a linear funnel.
Yeah, what do you think, Joshua?
Well, we're in unprecedented times right now where we've been trailing data behind us for 15 years, right? Since being on the internet. And the issue is that there wasn't enough processing for all that data. And from our cookies, from our social media habits, like there's analytics out there of being able to quickly predict what it is that you're looking at. And if you go on to Instagram or Facebook, and see the ads that you're being handed to you, you might have just had a conversation about that. And some people think, like, is it listening to me? Is that how it knows to give me, this vacation to Hawaii that I just talked to my wife about? Actually, no. Like, it has so many other data points on you that it doesn't need to listen to you to predict like what it is that you're looking for. And this was in use before AI, really came out in the last 3 years. So I am expecting a huge boost in the targeted advertising that's going to be coming out. And especially Meta just released that they're going to be offering AI generated ads on their platform themselves within the next year. So this whole process, from a large standpoint on social media is going to be automated, and we'll see how effective it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And here's a great question to end, because we're bumping up against time. To finish up with here is, looking to the future, what does the sales organization of 2030 look like?
Oh my goodness. I think what's going to happen, and this is happening in multiple areas of the organization, is there's going to be smaller front lines and there are going to be stronger sales strategists. So a lot of the work that the SDRs used to do, there'll be fewer SDRs, and the real account strategists will be navigating complex deals. They'll be focusing on relationships, and they'll be figuring out custom solutioning as required. So it's more strategy and less of the grunt work is my prediction.
Yeah, how about you, Joshua?
Yeah, 5 years is a long time to look in the future right now. But we all know agents are coming out. They're starting to become usable. And by the end of the year, I think they're going to be really a part of our tool set. And so 5 years from now, I agree with Mohan, like all the grunt work's going to be taken care of by these agents. And ideally, it's going to just activate a human to have that touch point once somebody shows interest or is like asking the buying questions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think agents are a big game changer, especially as they start to develop. We're bringing agents we have some agents in Pipeliner now. We're bringing out a reporting agent soon. I think that's the way people are going to interact with software in the short to medium term. I think that's where we're going to go to. You're going to use NLP to be, either typing or speaking, telling the software what you want it to do and what you want it to generate. So any last thoughts, Joshua, before we go?
Well, I'm really excited about the sales process, becoming more efficient and shortening the distance between a customer or a prospect with questions to being able to like get the answers they need, see if this is a viable product. And like I said, with authentic marketing and being able to like connect them to real humans as much as possible, I think is going to have a really big play with all this AI being flooded out into the market.
Yeah. And how about you, Mohan? Your last thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting time for very skilled sales strategists. I don't know what happens to junior sales folks, but for senior people, it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, so I think the message there is to upskill yourself. Make sure you're one of those highly skilled ones that's really good at interaction and questioning and building relationships. Well, listen, this has been fantastic. Been such great interaction from the audience. So thank you. I didn't even get to all my questions. Which is great because I prefer it to be audience driven. Before we go, Joshua, just quickly remind people who you are and what you do.
Yeah, I'm a AI consultant. You can go to my website, the entrepreneurscompass.info, and learn about the different services and ways that I can help you in your business.
Yeah, and Mohan?
I'm Chief Product and Technology Officer at Knownwell. Knownwell offers a commercial intelligence platform for B2B services companies.
Excellent. Well, listen, thank you again, Joshua. Thank you, Mohan. Thank you, audience, for joining us. Thanks for such fantastic interaction. And I'll see you all for another live sales, AI Sales Edge series very soon. So thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye
you,
now.
John. Bye, Josh.